Rare Voice is the phone in my home.
It's the one I can afford.
Rare Voice gives me lower LD.
And you know it gives me more.
I get local calls for free, and I can win big prizes too. Rare Voice makes my family rejoice. Rare Voice is the choice for me.
Your new home phone is here. Sign up for Rev Voice today, and you can win great weekly prizes and a brand new Honda CR-V from Nassau Motor Company. Get Rev Voice home phone for as low as $14.99 a month. Call us at 601-8992 or visit us online at cablebahamas.com/RevVoice. Rejoice this Christmas with Rev Voice.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is NB12 for Wednesday, December 12, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable 12 studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, the National Insurance Minister tells NB12 who he believes should be held accountable in the ongoing controversy at NIB. A former NIB board member shocked to learn of bonuses paid to NIB execs. The report into a controversial tourism marketing contract tabled in the House of Assembly. 2 men expected to be charged with 23 murders, and police say they need more resources to combat armed robberies. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your NB12 starts right now. Minister of National Insurance Shane Gibson says he's not surprised that a former NIB board member was shocked to learn of those bonuses. He says he expects a lot more information to come to light once an audit of NIB's books is complete in a few days. Gibson says he believes the previous National Insurance Minister should be held accountable. Fonique Toot reports.
As controversy continues at the highest level of the National Insurance Board, Minister responsible for national insurance Shane Gibson says former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham should be held accountable for some of the things that have transpired. Gibson says there seems to be a new development on NIB every day. On Monday, it was revealed that 8 NIB executives and 1 person on contract collectively received over $723,000 in bonuses over a 2-year period, something former NIB board members claim they were shocked to learn about. As a former minister responsible for national insurance, Gibson says there are certain questions Ingraham needs to answer.
I think this is part and parcel of why he resigned from Parliament, because he knew what he would be facing, and so he should be held accountable, just as every minister is held accountable for his portfolio. And, no matter what they say, at the end of the day, everybody holds ministers responsible. And so I don't want you to hold me responsible for something, and then when I make a decision, you ask me why I make a decision. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to hold me responsible, then I must be able to make a decision. That's the bottom line. And so ministers should be held accountable.
Gibson says the fact that neither former board members nor former Minister of State for Finance Shivargo Lang knew about those bonuses says a lot.
It should tell you a lot about what is going on at NIB and who is making the decisions. And one of the things I must tell you as well is I've searched high and low through all the communications and all the minutes, and I see nowhere where, in accordance with Section 40 of the National Insurance Act, benefits paid to persons above those in the unions would have to receive prior approval by the minister responsible for national insurance. I think I read in your paper where Shivargo Lang said he knew nothing of the bonuses. And I searched high and low through the minutes, and I don't see anywhere in the minutes where they received ministerial approvals for those bonuses that's listed.
There are also questions the opposition wants Gibson to answer. Several weeks ago, Killarney MP Dr. Hubert Minnis asked 42 NIB-related questions on the floor of the House that have yet to be answered. The F&M leader asked if NIB obtained a platinum business credit card for its chairman, and if so, is that an established policy of NIB? Gibson says he doubts he will have to answer those questions in Parliament because most of that information should be addressed in the audit, which is expected to be complete in a matter of days.
We don't want to do anything really to undermine the process at all. We want to give them their total independence. And so I think it'll be better for us not to speak to those specific issues. I think today would probably be the last sitting of the House before we adjourn for the Christmas. So And the report, I presume, will be in before we return, or probably just after, I'm not sure.
Gibson could not say how much this audit would cost government. Responding to calls for a commission of inquiry, the Minister of Labor and National Insurance says he does not think that's necessary. However, he says it is necessary for this government to clean up the mess that he feels was left behind. Meantime, Mr. Ingram told NB12 earlier this week he has already said publicly what he intends to say about NIB, adding that his administration left the Social Security program in good shape and whatever problems it is now experiencing are due to the actions of the Christie administration. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
That former board member who was shocked is BPSU President John Pinder. Celeste Nixon spoke with him today and filed this report.
Former NIB board member John Pinder said the executive bonuses never came before the board, and if they had, he would not have approved such large amounts, given the financial state of NIB. Pinder was one of 11 members on the NIB board appointed by former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram. Speaking with NB12 this afternoon, he said he was surprised by the magnitude of bonuses paid out.
We were advised coming into that office at the time as a director that the funds were in jeopardy. There was talk about 20, 25 years, the funds being depleted if we didn't do something to cause the investments to yield some profits.
Regarding the information leak, Pinder said as the money at NIB belongs to the working Bahamian people, there should be transparency. He said payouts, especially of this magnitude, should be made public in order to hold government entities accountable.
There's no way in my conscience I could agree to the type of bonus that I saw some of those persons receive. I am of the view that persons ought to be rewarded for good performance and they should get some sort of bonus, but I don't know if I could agree to that magnitude that I saw some persons receive. I personally don't think so.
Pinder said the board dealt with major issues relating to NIB, but he does not recall any reports to the board pertaining to bonus requests.
I honestly believe that the general public has the right to know how their contributions are being spent, and so while it appears though there was some breach of some secrecy in terms of bonuses being paid out, I think when you work for a public corporation or a public entity, you're not above scrutiny. So everybody's entitled to be scrutinized and has to actually, at some point, declare. And I think the public has the right to know what salaries are being paid.
Pinder said it's unfortunate the controversy is casting a shadow over NIB, as the board has accomplished a great deal.
Together, I think it was a very good team. It's sad that something like this will damper the good performance of that board in being able to implement the prescription drug program in a timely fashion. That board started the unemployment assistance program, so several very good things was accomplished under that board. The online way of doing your applications and being able to pay and all of the other things that the board accomplished. So for some of this to come to give an indication that the board didn't do due diligence or something untoward was done, something done under the table and not above board, it saddens me.
Moving forward, Pinder said proper procedures and guidelines are needed to facilitate management wage increases and bonuses. Reporting for NB12, I'm Celeste Nixon.
Well, police believe they've cracked the cases of nearly 24 recent murders. According to Police Commissioner Ellison Greenslade, a 22-year-old Bahamian male of the Southern Bahamas was arrested on Sunday for questioning in connection with the murder of Dario Knowles, the son of Dion Emperor Knowles. According to Greenslade, that led to the arrest of another 22-year-old Bahamian man of Eastern New Providence. He told reporters at a press conference today that initial inquiries linked the two young men to 23 murders committed in southeastern and eastern New Providence. Greenslade says the two men will face charges in connection with at least 5 of the murders before the end of the week.
I'm further pleased to advise that we are currently following significant leads in these 23 homicides, and we are optimistic that going forward, this major breakthrough will result in an unprecedented number of homicides being cleared up and the suspects being arraigned before the courts for the offense of murder in the very near future.
Greenslade says because of the sensitive nature of these investigations, more information could not be given at this time. Each year, more and more Bahamians are affected by robberies and armed robberies than any other crime against the person. And even with police putting as many resources as possible to combat the menace, the commissioner says more are still needed. Paige McCartney reports.
From the looks of it, police seem to have a handle on major violent crimes. On New Providence alone this year, murders are down more than 10%. But even Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade says it's those armed robberies that continue to be a vexing problem for the force and for the Bahamian public because of how widespread they are and how many people are affected by them each year. He says police are looking at new and old strategies to help Bahamians feel safer.
We are not going to allow a Bahamian public to be held hostage by a core group of prolific offenders who do not wish to find gainful employment. If you take upon yourself a weapon or any other offensive or dangerous instrument with a view to hurting someone, there's a good chance you might just be walking into a police officer.
And in response to the growing problem of armed robberies, the commissioner said one of the strategies involves the force taking advantage of legislation that allows off-duty police officers to work in private establishments, armed with weapons and wearing plain clothes.
We have a Private Fees Engagement Act. Members of the force that are off-duty can return to work fully armed with police resources and turn up at a business, legitimate business with the full support and approval of the commissioner and work a full shift. That has produced tremendous benefits for businesses and for members of the organization, and is something that I applaud.
Another tactic the commissioner says has shown results is the increase of visible police officers on the streets by nearly 100%.
Operation Blitz, putting just as many police officers on the streets as possible. These operations in many cases are being led by assistant commissioners, and members of the public have registered their surprise at seeing very, very senior people out there. But all of us, including my office, all of us are going to be fully involved into the holidays because we want us to have a good Christmas.
Police have also increased warranted searches and operations, and according to the commissioner, it has reached a point where there has been an equal increase in the amount of complaints coming into the force from residents who've had their homes or businesses searched. And with overall crime down 6%, the commissioner said these strategies speak for themselves.
We can distinctly point to a time here in the city when we knew that we were turning a corner, where we had a press conference. You were very good in carrying the story for us. And I, as commissioner, spoke and said exactly what we were going to do. We did what we said we were going to do. We told you who we were looking for. They were arrested. They were incarcerated. They are still incarcerated. And the numbers are now all trending downward, except this vexing category of armed robberies.
The commissioner said the police can only do so much, and it's up to members of the public who know of prolific offenders or people carrying unlicensed firearms to turn them in. Reporting for MB12, I'm Paige McCartney.